Welcome back to the Special Chronicles podcast, where we're giving respect and voice to people with special needs. I'm your host, Daniel Smikowski, founder and host of Special Chronicles. Before we dive into today's episode, a quick thank you to our sponsors, ComEd, the nation's first energy and solar efficiency education program taught by people with disabilities, and United Airlines through the Bridge Disability Business Resource Group, connecting people of all abilities. Make sure to follow us at specialchronicles.com, that's specialchronicles.com, and on social media at Special Chronicles. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss a story that empowers and inspires. Now, to close out Disability Pride Month, we're revisiting a powerful conversation that reminds us that disability is another face of diversity. On this Encore episode of the Special Chronicles podcast, recorded on location at Roosevelt University in Chicago, we sit down with my college friend Maria DeSabato, who shares her voice, her insights, and her pride. As we celebrate the final days of Disability Pride Month, remember that disability isn't something to hide. It's something to embrace. It's another face of diversity, and it makes our community stronger. Be sure to follow us at specialchronicles.com and on social media at Special Chronicles. Subscribe, rate, and review our show wherever you get your podcasts. I am Daniel Smikowski, reminding you to stay bold, stay proud, and stay tuned. Until next time, take care and God bless. And now, let's get started with this Encore episode of the Special Chronicles podcast. Disability is another face of diversity. Hey, Special Chronicles friends, this is Daniel Smikowski, founder and host of Special Chronicles, coming to you before the start of our program today to ask you to join our giving campaign to help us cover our costs of producing these podcasts. Your tax-deductible donation can help us bring you new podcasts each week that will inspire and uplift you. We thank you in advance for your generous support of our mission at Special Chronicles. You can give your gift today at specialchronicles.com/giving. That's specialchronicles.com/giving. And now let's hear from one listener, Darren, who talks about the impact Special Chronicles brings to our community.
Special Chronicles is a wonderful platform for people with special attributes to share their amazing stories. It is inspiring and uplifting for me to hear from people from all around the nation about their great accomplishments. Keep doing what you're doing. Continue to give this wonderful community a place to share their successes and voice what is important to them.
This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
This episode 209 is brought to you by listeners like you. If you would like to support us in 2017, in this new year 2017, to help us continue our mission of giving respect and voice to those of us with special needs and to really bring about inclusion in our society, then please help us today in so we can bring about inclusion in society through our mission here on Special Chronicles. And we thank you for your generous support. This week on Special Chronicles, we sit down again with our friend Maria DeSabato and talk about disability is another face of diversity, Learning Disability Edition. It's cut off next right now on the Special Chronicles podcast show on specialchronicles.com.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. I lend my voice to those who can't. It's time we try, it's time we care, it's time we stand. It starts with a voice.
You're listening to the Special Chronicles podcast show. This is a show where we're podcasting disability stories from different disability stories from an insider's perspective, and you're giving a voice to people with special needs. Everybody, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome back to the Special Chronicles podcast show. My name is Daniel, and I am your host, and we are actually backdating this. It's so good to be back. Whoa, hold on, sorry, my audio clip's all messed up here. So it's so good to be back behind the mic. So good that you're joining me for another week, another year of an exciting episode. We're actually backdating this episode on December 25th, 2016, on Christmas Day. But I'm recording this 7 days into January, 7 days into the new year of 2017. So it's kind of this weird science fiction thing where somewhat kind of now I'm recording this in 2017, but I'm backdating it in the past just by a couple of weeks. And that's just to kind of stay, kind of a weekly format of our program today. So that's why I know some podcasts might say, "Oh, don't backdate, just release it." If you record or whatever in one day, release everything on one day, whatever. But no, I don't want to do that. I want to kind of stay in a weekly format and backdate stuff because you listen on demand anyway. So whatever, it doesn't really matter when you listen to it. But on that note, so good to be back. I'd like to kind of thank all of our first and foremost as we begin 2017, and hopefully this can be the year that we reach $60,000 to come into Special Chronicles, so we can waiting further and continue our mission on a full-time basis, and by what we mean by that is so we can bring you even more stories and more content on an even more regular basis. So who knows? Maybe in the future we can bring you even daily content, and wouldn't that be awesome? But here's hoping. But I would like to thank all of our generous supporters who supported us this past October, this past fall season. I think we raised over $700 in just the last few weeks of October of 2016, and then those of you who had generously supported us in December 2016 for our end of the year campaign. Thank you all of you guys who have supported us. And just before I turn the audio recorder on today, I went down to my mailbox and got I should say, in my Special Chronicles. Those are just 2 Special Chronicles, but we got a generous donation that just came in today on January 7th, 2017. So it is so awesome. I am so awesomely thankful for all of you who so generously support us here at Special Chronicles. It is because of you. It's because of you who listen, and because of you who support us, that we're even able to bring you this content, to bring you these stories. So thank you so much. So as I said at the top of the show today, today's episode, Disability is Another Face of the Diversity, Learning Disability Edition, is actually brought to you guys in partnership with the Academic Success Center Disability Services Office at Roosevelt University in Chicago. It is my alma mater. But I am producing a video for them for their disability training. And one such conversation I had with Maria Sabado, you may, long-time listeners will remember Maria. We had her on maybe 2-3 years ago, maybe. Actually, it might have been 3 or 4 years ago now. And that was all about learning disability awareness. But I had a 20-minute conversation with her for this video that I am in the process of producing. And I also recorded the audio too, so I had the kind of camera stuff. If you guys follow me on Instagram or my Facebook page, I did Instagram a few behind the scenes pictures, so you may have seen it a couple months ago. Maybe a couple months ago, maybe about a month ago. And I think it was only about a month ago. And it was a 20-minute conversation with Maria, and it was such a fascinating conversation so I had the video camera, and then I had the audio recorder kind of next to the couch, and it was such an awesome conversation that I thought, well, I have to bring this to all of you, all those listeners at Special Chronicles. So that is that, and it was so inspiring to talk to Maria again. And if you guys missed that, I'll put in the show notes a link to Maria's first appearance on the show. But it was so awesome and so great to get a chance to talk to Maria. And this series that I'm producing, Disability is Another Face of Diversity, as I said, is part of this video that I'm producing for the Disability Services Office at Roosevelt University in Chicago. And it's a really unique video that I'm producing, and I had such a fun time talking with Maria, who I actually did go to school with her about 4 years ago. So, but yeah, it's so. It is. I forgot what I was going to say something profound, maybe. But I was going to say something. But yeah. So this, you guys are going to enjoy this, and we're not going to have that much others. I'm going to try to make this episode a little bit shorter, because we've got some more content for you guys coming in the coming weeks. But I just wanted to share that with you. Also, you guys follow us on social media at Special Chronicles on Facebook, at Special Chronicles on Facebook, or at Special C Podcast, at Special C Podcast on Instagram or Twitter, and as well as our news feed on SpecialChronicles.com. That's SpecialChronicles.com, because we got a few giveaways to give away. We got the DVD Asperger's OS to give away. We've got the book Reason to Smile to give away. And you heard just a couple of weeks ago, you heard our good friend, our new friend, Tyler McNamee, and we're going to be hopefully giving away a copy, an autographed copy of his book, Population 1, as well. So we've got a couple of books and a DVD, the Asperger's OS, and hopefully the movie Poe as well. We maybe get 5 copies of that. But stay tuned, because I think, and if you guys want to win a copy of the DVD Asperger's OS, follow us on social media and our email list, because that's how we will let you know how you can enter to win this awesome documentary Asperger's OS if you haven't seen it already. I'm sure some of you guys already have, especially if you hold our behind-the-scenes conversation with director Alex Luckman. But I think for this first giveaway for Alex's film Asperger's OS, which is about the first comedy troupe composed of people entirely on the autism spectrum. But I think we're going to have you sign up for our email list, and then we're going to draw a winner if we can get up to maybe 100 subscribers on our email list. So stay tuned. So this is the first announcement that I'm making on that. But without further ado, we had about 10 minutes, and I want to get our interview kicked off here today. And on that note, I hope that you guys all have a fantastic New Year 2017. And that you can bring witty in light of the news that happened in Chicago this week, the really tragic news of a young man with special needs who was really viciously attacked live on social media. It was just a terrible thing that happened to him, and in the wake of, and I guess you could say in response to that story, I just really hope and pray that we can really bring about inclusion in society, and so something like that never ever happens again, because for those of us with special needs, we really do bring about joy to everybody that we meet, to society overall, and it's just really upsetting that something like that even happened in this first week of 2017. Just so, I think that happened just a couple of days ago, within 3 or 4 days into 2017, something so tragically happened to this young man, that he was so beaten and on video and live, in that, just so tragic. But so on that sad note, I want to bring you this awesome conversation we had with our good friend Maria DeSabato about how disability is another face of diversity, right here on the Special Chronicles podcast show on SpecialChronicles.com. So we'll be right back. So, first tell me your name.
Maria DeSabato.
And what does disability mean to you?
Okay, loaded question. First one. Do you mean the word itself or the conception?
I would say the conception.
Well, it's complex. So, initially, what first pops into mind is personal. I feel very personal about it. It's a very personal thing to me. I am an invisible disability human, which comes with different challenges than those in the disability world with visible ones, mainly the inability to observe outside of me telling you that I have one. So in that sense, it's hidden and it's personal. So when I think disability conceptually, I think personally about it, but then I also think in the greater collective of, American Western culturalized society that misunderstood, not necessarily acknowledged. It's a very convoluted and misunderstood concept. So when I think disability, like I said before, reiterating personal, but I also think confusion. I think that we have a very ableism society, but I'm not saying that to fault anyone who is able. I don't want to fault anyone who is able. I don't want to fault anyone who doesn't understand the disability community, because I don't think it's well represented, and I think that if something isn't represented and talked on a conscious and subconscious level within any society, it's going to be overlooked and misunderstood and not treated or responded to properly. So I guess, again, disability is confusing, complex, vast, and personal all at once to me.
Yeah. So what do you want your peers or other students here on campus to know about you?
I think me a year ago would have said I wanted everyone to know my disability. I would have wanted everyone to acknowledge it and act accordingly to it. But I guess me here and now, and upon a long journey over the last year, I don't think that's a fair thing for me to think or expect for people. I guess what I would really want any student who is, any one of my peers to do or recognize is that we're all very different, even though we're all very similar at the same time. That if I don't want to read in class, and I don't feel like giving you an explanation for why I don't read, how about not be so hostile and take a moment to think, why wouldn't this person want to read in class? Why isn't the teacher forcing them to read in class? And potentially come upon the logical conclusion that I have some type of learning disability. But again, that's a lot to put on another person, and it's not necessarily fair to expect that person to get it right away when there is no representation. I guess open-mindedness at the end of the day, particularly a student at Roosevelt University, a social justice school, being open-minded to what I have and how I have to function in our collective reality because of it.
And speaking to that, since you mentioned professors, what do you want your professors on campus to know about you?
Oh, well, professors are different than students. I want my professors to know I have a disability. I can't have them work with me properly unless they do know and understand it. I want them to feel okay. I want my professors to feel like they can ask me questions, but I want them to also understand that they need to not ask questions or come at me as if I'm lying or attempting to get out of doing something at the end of the day. Again, from a professor's perspective, anyone's perspective who doesn't really understand or know or interact with people with invisible disabilities, I understand that initial reaction of really, or not disbelief right away. I guess I just expect more from my professors and my peers. They're the ones teaching. They should understand that there's a variety of students and that they need to react accordingly to each one of them, not a collective group.
And since you said understanding, how can your professors have a better understanding?
Well, one, when they're getting any type of teaching significant, the institution teaching them should engage with them on a variety of, students and the learning, not just learning types, but how to engage with someone who has learning disabilities in general. or even like any disability. Like if you're going to go into a classroom full of people, you're going to come across a multitude of students. And one of those aspects within the students is disability, but that's a small sliver of what our collective group is, not just in Roosevelt, but the United States. We're a diverse, group of people. And not having teachers trained in that manner is not a fault of the teacher, but a fault of the institutions that allow them to become teachers.
And so next, how would you describe you? What I mean by that is your disability part of how you describe yourself. How would you describe yourself?
Yeah, it's interesting because, like I said before, it's a very personal thing to me, and I have debates with people who have similar disabilities with me, and just people who don't, or just people in general in my life. This idea of defining myself by my disability, but I always come back and say I'm not defining myself by it, because that implies limitation. It's part of my definition. Like I am bigger than my disability, but without my disability I wouldn't be who I was. I wouldn't have had the experiences I had in my life. I wouldn't construct my reality the way I have. It is very important to me and the way I see and understand things, because it is a very big part of my reality. So to criticize someone or to tell someone to not define themselves by their disability, I understand why people are saying that. I understand why there are disability people who don't want to do that. I just would like those people to kind of reflect and see that is kind of my personal opinion, is it's kind of subconscious ableism thought that that by not acknowledging it in the construction of who you are, you're seeing it as something less. And that's my personal take. However, I don't have a right to tell any other disability person that if they don't want to define themselves by it, they shouldn't have to.
So the whole focus on this video is disability is another place of diversity, or disability is diversity. So speaking to that focus, can you share your thoughts on disability is another face of diversity?
Oh, yeah. See, this is why I think the disability community is super interesting. I definitely think it is, not just the face of diversity in the sense of group formations, to put a political science lens on it, but even within the disability community, it is highly diverse. And I think that's why there's a lot of deliberation conflict within the disability community. Going back to the last question you asked is would you define yourself by your disability? The group is split. There are people who would and people who wouldn't, and that in itself just shows how diverse the disability community actually is. It's not just a face of diversity, but it shows that diversity is complex and that group formations are constructed, and that there are overlapping group formations that can occur, because it's a very interesting grouping, because it kind of goes over all groupings, all social groupings, all culturalized groupings, from any aspect of religion, politics, ethnic, race, gender, sex, social, economic classes. Disability goes beyond all of them. And in that sense, it's always going to be diverse. Not just because it's another face of diversity in our world, but because it represents diversity in the world as well. It's both.
Good. And kind of speaking to that, I was at a sign time, which is sign language for kids, but also for us too in Tennessee. And the person who created sign time, one of our oldest daughter was deaf or hard of hearing. And she said, I just wrote about it in my column that's going to be coming out next week. But she said something to that same effect that you said, that the disability community is a divided community, because a lot of times you say, you're going to the deaf stuff, or you're going to the Down syndrome buddy walk, or that we're divided, and that kind of fits with the election that just happened a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
with it being a divided country, but if you think of it in terms of what we're just talking about now,
Yeah.
Within the disability community that what you just said, how it's highly default, kind of goes into a divided disability community.
Like, within political science, one of my favorite concepts that I ever learned or explored is group formations and how this inclination for humans to naturally form in types of groups. I mean, granted, it's obviously a controversial theory, just like anything is in political science, but it really, I think, stuck to me because I do see these group formations and how groups start big and go down small and vice versa. And the disability community is, I think, a great prime example of exploring this concept of group formations. Like you said, like within the community, you have the Down syndrome community. All the time, man, they're all slipping away from me. But you have
LD,
learning disability or physical disability.
Williams syndrome.
Or like deaf, blind. Even people on the spectrum, like in all of our experiences are not similar. So like I might be in a room full of people who have disabilities, but our realities and our understanding of what it means to be a disability and our interactions with people who don't understand what it's like to be a disability are not the same. Disability community is extremely vast, and that dividedness shows the fact that it's diverse and shows how it encompasses pretty much every social group that there is, but it does make it hard for any strides being made for the community if there's no collective unity at all. And it's understandable why there isn't at this point. I guess kind of going on a random rant, but one of my biggest fears for any type of disability unity or disability community making strides in the more conscious reality of our society is if we approach able people with anger. And I think the anger is understood. I get it. I'm angry all the time. But however, if people don't know, they're not aware, going at them angrily, and I think this is also kind of going back to what you said about the election, going at anyone angrily will push them away. You have to approach with understanding that they don't know and that they're not going to get it right away. But don't throw it in their face, and just don't be overall dismissive of someone who doesn't get it right away. And that also goes with people within the disability community. Like I said, there is clashing between it. Like I've had people who have physical disability tell me that my life is easier because you can't see it. And I think on a degree they have a point, but on another degree they're missing the idea that people challenge my disability all the time. And having my reality challenged on that deeper level for something that's that significant to me is tiresome after a while. So like the community needs to somehow come together and understand that the diversity within it is why it is such a, I think, awesome and beautiful community.
So now, can you share your thoughts on the term disability?
So like the term itself?
Yeah, the term itself.
I think that's a day-by-day thing for me. There are times when I absolutely hate the word, and other times I'm like, what else could we use? I mean, it implies unable, but it just goes with the ableism culture and construction. I mean, until I can come up with or hear a better idea of what to call the community, I'm not necessarily against it. I can see why it's terrible. I can see why, not terrible. I can see why people would not like it, feel uncomfortable, be hurt by it. I can also see why people would be empowered by it. I think that we're not at a point as a community focusing on the linguistical significance of the word itself. Going about trying to change the word and the meaning, I think, is going to distract us from greater missions of awareness that we need to accomplish, specifically through media. I don't think there's anything wrong, personally, with being called disabled. I think it's the tone and context in which that is used is the problem, and that's not the word, that's the person manipulating the word.
So, do you see a stigma of disability?
Yeah. I mean, with any kind of like social grouping, there's always going to be stigma somehow. Even though I would argue that the disability community is probably the majority in many ways, because we have an ableism culture, it is stigmatized. But again, I don't think it's the word itself that is the stigma part. It's the manipulation of the word that's the stigma. And I do think, kind of going back to what I said before, I understand why people who are in the community are angry about it. I am all the time. I hate being stigmatized. I hate not being represented. I hate not being understood. But how can I get mad at my fellow person how can I get mad at the person next to me if they've never interacted with anyone with a disability before? We need books. We need TV shows. We need media. We need music, songs, movies. We need media to be the first step to make it unstigmatized. And if we have representation in that form and then people are still stigmatizing, then that's when the anger can become more of a legitimate phenomenon than just a understandable reaction.
And I think now even slowly those media we're getting more media, like those the show Born This Way on 80 about something we does with Down syndrome.
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, it's got Born This Way. I've already interviewed a couple of the cast.
That's awesome.
And then there's also the show Speechless on ABC. I don't know if you love that one.
I have heard of that one. I don't actually know much about it though, but I heard it has a good representation.
Carol Joanne actor has CP. Carol non-verbal, but the actor who plays and has CP, but he can talk. And then those, Special Chronicles, of course.
Yeah, there's you. Yeah.
But then there's a film called Cody's Hollywood. Brother, his sister passed away who had Down syndrome.
And I do know some books as well.
Yeah, those Asperger's OS is a new documentary. Yeah, and books.
And like documentaries on it. And there's a new article on NPR about like dyslexia, which is my specific disability. So I do think there's movement in the right way. Like you've been pointing out, there was a pattern of it being represented. The problem, so I mean, I have hope. I'm not against it. I love the idea of having more representation for the community. Nothing else I can add. It's kind of nice to see that and hear about it, what you just told me.
Yeah. So on that note, you already kind of answered this in talking about the full step media. But so since you said yes, how can we get rid of a stigma of disability?
That's a big question, because how do you get rid of stigma in general, not just with the disability community, but any community? I mean, stigma's ingrained. I might not see stigma for the disability community gone in my lifetime, just because I think it kind of starts with a generational thing. It starts with the young and ingraining the right ideas and morals there. However, I do kind of want to put some part of my life into dedicating the future to not have that stigma. My battle is not getting rid of the stigma, but dealing with the stigma and easing it for the next generation. I think a good way to get rid of the stigma is to not react with anger at the stigma. I think approaching the stigma with this concept of understanding the ignorance that is there, and not ignorance in a negative way, but the actual definition of just uneducated. It's okay that people are uneducated on this topic. What's not okay is if there is information presented to them and they deny it. That's the difference. That's the problem. I don't really have a good solution at the moment to get rid of the stigma. I can only give suggestions to not approach the stigma with anger, because I think that approaching it with anger would add to the stigma.
So finally, is there something that I'm not asking that you want people to know about you? Within this whole...
Yeah. I think I kind of addressed it. Like, what I would mostly answer to that is that, like, I am dyslexic. I am, invisible learning I have an invisible learning disability, and it is a very key part of me, but it is not fully who I am. I like art. I like to travel. I like engaging in conversation with friends and random people. I like libraries. I do love to read, even though it's a struggle for me, and that comes a lot from my mom, and her being a librarian is kind of like implementing this love in reading for me. I guess not necessarily personally about me besides those things, just more of like, know that this is kind of to the community of disabled people. Know that your anger is understandable. that there is some type of justification for it. However, putting anger out there and taking down on anyone, particularly if they don't understand, even if they kind of refuse to understand, will only hinder you and the collective group you're fighting for at the end of the day. And that's so much easier said to recognize than actually do. And I fail at it all the time. And failing at it is also okay. Just try not to do it next time. Yeah, that's about it.
Awesome.
You're listening to the Special Chronicles podcast. And here's your host.
You're listening to the Special Chronicles podcast show right here on SpecialChronicles.com. It's so good to be back. And I hope you guys all enjoyed our that fantastic conversation with our good friend Maria de Sabado. It was so great to talk with Maria again. And I hope you guys learned or gained a little bit of insight into what it's like to have LD, to what it's like to have learning disabilities, to what it's like to be diagnosed with special needs in college. And that you gained a little bit of insight of just how disability truly is another face of diversity. And hopefully I can put a link to the video once I produce it on Special Chronicles and our SDTV Special Chronicles YouTube channel. Because hopefully, it's for the Disability Services Office at Roosevelt University. It's for the disability training, but I think I got permission, and I'm going to double check as well after I produce it. But hopefully, I can share it with all of you, all listeners and viewers, because I think you guys, it's a message that needs to get out there, and even more, even more needs to get out there this year of 2017. So. On that note, I hope if you guys want to comment on anything that Maria talked about in our show today, please email us feedback@specialchronicles.com at any time, day or night. Please email us feedback@specialchronicles.com or send us an audio file, an MP3, an audio file. Just use that voice memo app on your phone, and you can email that to us day or night, anytime at feedback@specialchronicles.com, or like and join the conversation on our Facebook page at Special Chronicles on Facebook, at Special Chronicles on Facebook. You can leave a comment there. You can send us a message there on our Facebook page, or on Instagram or Twitter. You can tweet us or Instagram us, leave comments there on Instagram, or leave comments to us on Twitter at Special C Podcast, at Special C Podcast. On Instagram or Twitter, you can leave us a message. You can send us a private message. Anyway, get a hold of us. You can. We would love to hear from you, and we thank you for your generous support. And you can also, I forgot, you can leave us a review on iTunes or on Stitcher Radio. You can just leave us a review. It really helps to let more people out there know if you leave us a review on iTunes. You can now go back and subscribe because it's now back up. And subscribe and help us a lot more people out there know about the show. So we really hope that you can join in the conversation about anything that we talked about, anything at all. We would so greatly love to hear from you. And we thank you once again for your generous support. SpecialChronicles.com/given, SpecialChronicles.com/given, or if you'd like to do what our so generous supporter did today that I received in the mail. If you would rather send us a check in the mail, get in touch with us, feedback@specialchronicles.com, and we can let you know how you can send us if you would rather give us a donation through a check. We'll let you know how you can send. We'll let you know the mailing address if you just send us an email. And if you would rather donate that way. But any way that you donate and you give and you support us, we thank you. We thank you so much for your generous support on Special Chronicles. And I forgot to play that you're listening thing. But it's okay. I'll add that in post. I forgot to play the audio clip. That is that. But whatever. So, on that note, we will be back next week with another installment of our continuing series Speechless, where we're giving our viewer commentary from a special needs perspective. A good friend Sarah Perkins will be back once again, and we may even be recording an extra episode for you guys about road trips and disability. So we may. So stay tuned because we've got some more content for you guys in the coming weeks and the coming year ahead. And if you want to get in touch, if you want to be a guest on the show, get in touch with us. You can just email us feedback at specialchronicles.com, and we can book you on the show. So until then, we really hope to hear your feedback and hear from you, and we'll talk to you guys next week. So until then, take care, and God bless. See you on.
Special Chronicles. Giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
And that's a wrap. Whoa, I dropped my phone. That's not good. This week on
This is special.
What is going on? In this new year of 2017, apparently I still don't know. You know, 9th year here, I still don't know. I still don't know what I'm doing here. Quad. Take 2. What if I actually click play now? What is... I don't know what I'm doing. Blah, blah, bloody blah. Blah. Because I'm using the stick of iTunes because my other audio clip thing is not working. I have to use the stick of iTunes, and I don't like that way of playing Bumble. Quit. Stop, I'm gonna try that again, because I messed up. Insult Bumble? Insult interview? Clip? But delete these texts. Stop, I'm gonna try that again, because I messed up.